Hey guys, Andrew McFarland here from StartAJuiceBar.com. Thank you for joining me. Today we are talking about whether you should open up a storefront or a juice truck. The pros and cons. By the end of this video, you should have some clarity on what the right path for you is. But before we dive in, if you guys are new to the channel and you don't know who I am, you don't know what we do, over the last 10 years, myself and my company has had the pleasure of supporting hundreds of entrepreneurs all over the world launch and scale juice concepts, smoothie bar concepts, acai bowl businesses, healthy cafes, and more, as well as running our own businesses in this sector. So all the information on this channel is coming from that wealth of experience. Early invitation to press the like button. Thank you so much. I appreciate your appreciation. It also supports the channel. And more importantly, it supports the world, because I know that if your mission is similar to mine, we're here to make the world a healthier place, and getting this information out to more people to empower them to support their communities is the mission. And that's the point. So pressing the like button is going to expose more people to this content. Now, diving in, I've had the intention to make this video, and someone recently, hopefully you're watching this, someone recently asked me this question on another video, and I said, you know what, I'm going to make a video about this once and for all so that you guys can really understand what the pros and cons are of all situations. And I often mention on this channel that it's not that there is one right path. Okay, there's not one perfect business model. There are many different models in which people are successful. Now, success is also a personal thing. For some people, success is just monetary. For some people, success is based on their lifestyle. Some people, success is based on their impact. It's based on many things, and you get to decide what that is for you. I can't tell you what success is. I know what it is for me, and part of your journey as an entrepreneur is figuring out what that is for you. So let's talk about some of the pros and cons and real things that you should be aware of when it comes to starting a juice truck or starting a storefront that hopefully will give you more clarity on the direction that you want to take. So the first thing that most people think about when starting juice trucks is the cost of getting started. Generally speaking, starting a juice truck business or mobile juice business is a lot cheaper than starting a storefront. Now, this is generally the case. Now, are there scenarios where maybe that isn't the case? Yes, there are scenarios where that might not be the case. Let's say, for example, you're going to buy a truck and you were going to custom fit that truck. It could cost you more than if you were to start a juice bar storefront where you're getting a great term on your lease from the landlord, or maybe the condition of the space doesn't require that you have to do a lot of build out. So generally speaking, it is true that starting a juice truck could be, and usually is, cheaper, but are there scenarios where starting a storefront could be a little bit cheaper than starting a juice truck? Yes. Does it happen often? No, it doesn't happen often, but there are scenarios where that could play a role. Now, what is another thing that people really like about starting juice trucks versus storefronts? Oftentimes, people are talking about and sharing, and it is true, but there's some caveats that I'm going to enlighten you to, that you're mobile. So that means that you don't have restrictions around where you can be. Maybe you find one location, you're like, you know what, this location's not so great. Let me move to the other side of the city, or let me move to another city, right? Being mobile gives you flexibility in order to prove out what environment is the best for you. Now, the paradox or the caveat in this is that you also have location insecurity. So let's say, for example, you find a space and there's no guarantee that you are going to be staying there, because for us, for example, at one point we were parking in the middle of Hollywood and we had to show up at 6 a.m. every morning in order to get there, because otherwise the parking spots would fill up and we wouldn't be able to find parking. So we had a little bit of insecurity, because even then, if we showed up some days and we were maybe a little late because maybe something broke on our truck and we had to get it fixed and we couldn't show up right away, we had a flat tire or something, right? There are all these scenarios that create a little bit of location insecurity because you have that freedom of moving around, and you might not be able to guarantee that you can get the ideal spots all the time. So another example I'll give you is, I remember when we used to park our truck by the beach. It was a great area psychologically and also economically. These are people who had money and people who really were health focused, but we couldn't find the right parking spot in the really high demand areas. We ended up on side streets, and then therefore we had to leave that environment. So this is why it's important to understand, while you can move around, you don't want to be in a place where you haven't thought about it enough, to really take advantage of the right locations, because otherwise you might have too much location insecurity, even though you're mobile and there's flexibility. Now let's talk about a storefront. What is the upside and downside? When you have a storefront, yes, you can't just pick up and move your store. So once you sign a lease and you build out your store, you're committed. But it creates a lot of consistency for customers. Customers love knowing that you're going to be there every day and they can build their routine. Just like you and I both know, you might make a plan to say, okay, well, today I need to go grocery shopping, I need to go here, and that juice bar's on the way, and then I'm going to stop there. Great. You can plan your day around it. But what happens if it's a mobile vehicle and you're not 100% sure they're going to be there? And you plan your day and you show up and guess what? They're not there. And then some days they are there and then they're not. You kind of get to the point where you're like, it's a little bit too much effort to roll the dice and figure out if they're going to be there or not. Doesn't mean that you're not going to get sales from customers, but there's some sales that are lost with that experience. So both scenarios have their pros and cons, and be aware that it's not just, being mobile is the best thing in the world and having a store is not the best thing in the world. When you have a storefront, though, obviously you can do deliveries and you can reach your customers if you need to, and you may or may not be able to do that on a truck. It might be a little tricky, not to say you can't, but it might be a little tricky. Okay, so what are the other things when it comes to a truck, pros and cons? Now, a truck oftentimes has a lot of novelty factor, which means that people like mobile vehicles. They're charming. There's something about them that is very unique because we don't often see trucks everywhere. And so people like that. But at the same time, in my experience, people also don't trust the brand quality of a truck as much as they would trust somebody who has a storefront. And the way that shows up is just in the average ticket sale. I remember with my business, when we had a truck for 100 customers, the average ticket sale was somewhere around $8. When we had a storefront, those same 100 customers would spend closer to $15. So almost twice the amount. Same 100 people. Now, why was that? It's for a number of factors. One was the brand trust. Two was the fact that people could plan, because a lot of times when people purchase from truck, it's more spontaneous, so they don't plan their purchasing, and therefore they don't spend as much money. And then three was just the amount and spectrum of things that we could provide, okay? Which brings me to my next point, which pro and con versus a truck and versus a store, right? Truck versus a store. With a truck, you don't have as much space to manage, which you can see as a good thing, but also you don't have as much space to make money because you're going to have a limited amount of storage. So when you have to do more with less, it actually is a lot more complicated. A lot of times people think about a smaller space, less to deal with, it should make things easier, and it can to a certain degree, but there are also many things that people aren't aware of. Just like I talk about how, computers back in the day used to be, 1 story tall and have all these plugs, and they were just enormous, because it's a lot easier to build something big than it is sometimes to build something small. And as our phones have gotten smaller, more computing power, it's taken a long time for us to get there. If they could have done that right away, they would have done it, because having big stuff just, with less capacity or power isn't intelligent. So sometimes doing more in a smaller space is actually much more complicated because it takes more thoughtfulness around how to be efficient and effective. So overall, these are really the major things to think about, that there is no right pathway, and isn't to say that a store is better than a truck. It's just different. It's better, in my experience, from a sales standpoint, because the best performing truck is not even performing close to as good as the best performing store, and in some situations, even the least performing store. So it depends on what your goals are and why you're doing it. And ultimately, for me, it's not for us to dictate what you should do. I know what I would do if I had the opportunity to do it differently, knowing that I started with a truck. I would go straight to a storefront, because for me, it just was, I would see it as a waste of time now, knowing what I know. But it took me going through a process to learn the lessons that I needed to learn from an economic standpoint, from an operational standpoint, from a branding standpoint, and all of these things in order to understand why I would and wouldn't do something. So hope this gives you guys clarity. If you guys need support with anything in your business, even opening your storefront, maybe we can help you put a business plan together so you can raise capital and open a storefront, or help you with your truck business. Either way, we're happy to support. Reach me personally at Andrew@StartAJuiceBar.com. If you haven't pressed the like button yet, another invitation to press the like button. Questions or comments, you know where that goes in the comment box below. I'm interested. If you guys have made a decision, let me know. Put in the comment box below that you're going to either start a truck or you're going to start a store. Or if you have any other questions, you know where that goes. Lastly, subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell so you get alerted whenever we put out content just like this. And follow us on Instagram. at StartAJuiceBar, exclusive content there, giveaways, and so much more. So you want to be sure to follow us on Instagram. And then lastly, if you like podcasts, we have a podcast called the Juice Bar Experts Podcast on iTunes and on Spotify. Until next time, hope you guys are happy and healthy. Take care. Hope you guys have been enjoying the video content. If you are inspired to launch your juice business, but you're not exactly sure what steps to take, for you, we've created a free ebook, 15 Steps to Starting a Juice Business from Scratch. This is going to give you a high-level overview of everything you need to do from where you are now all the way to opening your business. Now, if you want to go even deeper, we've created an online course, the Juice Bar Master Blueprint. This is going to go into great detail into every aspect of starting your business, everything from branding to menu development to finding the right location, the equipment that you need, and so much more, all the way to launching your business. There's links for both of these in the description below. I know you're going to find a lot of value out of them. As always, hope you guys are happy and healthy, wishing you a lot of success, and I'll see you at the next video.